Afternoon, folks. Welcome back. It's John Pettipas doing a recording on the afternoon of Saturday, the 19th day of March, 2022. And today, special day, it would have been our late mother's 95th birthday. So myself and my two younger brothers. I'm John Patrick Pettipas. There's Paul Joseph Pettipas, which very interestingly today his mother gave him a wonderful name, Paul Joseph. And today is the feast of Saint Joseph, who's the husband of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the foster father of our Savior and Redeemer, Jesus. So Paul Joseph Pettipas, and the youngest brother, of course, is Donald Peter Pettipas. So you get JP, John Patrick Pettipas, Paul, PJ, Paul Joseph Pettipas. A lady used to come into the monastery called me PJ, and actually I'm JP, but my brother's PJ, so that was fine. Wonderful lady used to come in, Anne Guthrow, and always call me PJ, and that was wonderful. Anyway, so Paul Joseph and DP for Donald Peter. And so our mother died, she was 86 when she died, so in her 87th year, had she lived 8-9 more years, this day would have been her 95th birthday. And our mother was born, I'm half American, our mother was born in we're half American, was born in the United States of America. And this here is the flag of the state of Massachusetts. This Chief Massachusetts gets the name. She was born in Waltham, Massachusetts. And she met my father that worked on Christmas trees through Aunt Hattie, Saintly Aunt Hattie in Boston. And they the rest is history. They got engaged and married in Boston, went to the Empire State Building in New York City down by bus or train from Boston into New York. The Empire State Building was then the tallest building in the world. And so she came up to Nova Scotia, her worldly goods in some trunks. Used to use railroad trunks, like a big trunk. It had to take two guys to carry it, to the lovely coastal Acadian community of Antigonish County. And it would have taken some guts to come to the city into a rural area. And she did it, and overall it's been a great experience. I think there's another lady down the road, Teresa Woolley Delory. She also met her husband through that case, their Aunt Emma, who was a good friend of Aunt Hattie. So these Trackley girls get down to Boston. They served as a matchmaker on the side. So today would have been our mother's 95th birthday, the 19th of March of 1927 she was born in. 1927. Okay. And so now our father was born on the 25th of March of 1917. So it's quite interesting. Both parents were born in the month of March, 10 years apart. My father being 10 years older, our father being 10 years older, and our mother being 10 years younger. So mother on the 19th of March, 1927, and our father born in Tracadie, Acadian Community Tracadie, Antigonish County, Nova Scotia, on the 25th of March, less than a week later, in 1917. So born 1 week apart in the month of March, and 10 years apart, but in the month of March, 1 week apart. So that's quite interesting. And now my father had character. The gentleman I alluded to in a video this morning, he was illiterate, he didn't read, but he didn't waste. And yes, at one point in his life, he had a problem with excess drinking. It's known as alcoholism. And he had guts, though. He had the guts and courage to stop drinking. Cost him his marriage. Those things happen in life. It's not the end of the world. I was, 14? I was 15 years old. My parents got separated. Younger brother, 10 years old. And the youngest, next one was, 5 or 6 years old. But anyway, those things happen in life. That's all part of human experience life. And he had the courage to stop drinking. And he was a recovered alcoholic for the last 20 years of his life. So that the gentleman had character that he did not waste. and had the courage and guts and perseverance to stop drinking. And we applaud him for that, and that speaks well again of character. I made these notes some weeks ago, and I said, our father had character, and he certainly had character. And he worked very hard all his life. Worked at on the railroad at one point. Worked on the farm, and subsistence farming years ago, and everybody had some animals on the farm, and that's how they fed themselves, sustained themselves. Then he worked on the railroad, and after that, he worked at the Acadian Fisheries, and finally he worked for many years in the Department of Highways as a laborer and painter, Department of Highways, scraping the bridges and putting a primer on them, and then painting them. So that he was not afraid of work, And our mother worked in a library in Massachusetts. She looked at going in a convent at one time. She never took her vows, but she went in a convent, helped the sisters make an order. She was looking at considering joining the communion host, the wafers. Then she worked in the library. She worked in a jewelry store, met her father, and came up here. And so to Tracadie, Antigonish County, Nova Scotia. They take and their upbringing. When I'm oldest, we didn't have television. We were poor people. We didn't have television. And my father's mother, Grandma Bill, had bowel cancer. So she would have a colostomy. You'd have a bag for your bodily movements inside you. And so they didn't have all those. This was back in the 60s. I was just a little boy then. They didn't have the pens and all these fancy fluff and gauze bandages and sanitary papers. So my mother used to wash the diapers, and my saintly Aunt Jenny lived with with my grandmother up to 2 houses up from where I'm at speaking to you today. And so my mother used to do the diapers and wash them up and all and do stuff like that. And Aunt Hattie didn't forget that. And the year her mother died, she came down that summer with the saintly Uncle Peter, Saintly Aunt Hattie with her equally wonderful saintly husband, Uncle Peter Leona from Massachusetts, a Polish ancestry, Slavic people, as are the wonderful Ukrainians, who will be welcoming lots of them to this country, and hopefully some of them will grace us with their presence in the immediate area, and Cape Breton and Guysborough and other parts of Antigonish County and rural Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and what have you. Anyway, she brought us a nice Zenith portable television. And that Zenith portable television was the first time I had television. I was, 7 years old by then, 6 or 7 years old. And interestingly, a wonderful lady, there's a wonderful lady across the road, Mrs. Gertie Gerard, and she used to go to Montreal with her trunks and the train every fall to shop. She did with the Rogues on St. Catharines and Sherbrooke Street in Montreal. But she came home, unbeknown, her Aunt Hattie came down in July with her husband in a nice American-made Chicago, Illinois, Zenith television. Gertie, Mrs. Gerard, bought us, it was a big thing to do with pension so low. She wasn't a rich lady by any means either. Bought us, in the kindness of her heart, a Admiral television, which I think was made in London, Ontario. It was a Canadian-made television. So we went from having no television, their father said, to 2. And I can still remember watching the Waltons. It was one of the Waltons, Red Skelton, Ed Sullivan. It was one of the few things we did on a Sunday, together as a family on a Sunday night, was we watched the Waltons. I still see the Waltons on Vision Television, and it's wonderful to see. It's a very clean, wholesome show. We could watch Bonanza. We weren't allowed watching Gunsmoke because it was too violent and so on. And there was a time in my life when I didn't curse. we weren't allowed to curse, okay? And so on. Kind of made up for it since. When Gerard first started coming in to help me out doing painting, I went to school with him. He was quite surprised to hear me cursing, because I didn't curse when I was in school. Anyway, that said, our parents were separated, but lived to mother, especially ripe old age. Father didn't get cancer too and died. Thought he was going to live forever. Such a determined cat. Thought he was going to live forever, but he died at 76 on the 29th of August of 1993. And our mother died at 86 on the 13th of August of 2013. So you have to wonder. They were born 6 days apart in the month of March. 6 days apart, 10 years in the difference, but 1917 in the case of our father, March 25th, 1917. And our mother would have been on March the 19th, 1927. And interestingly, again, our father died on the 29th of August of 1993, and on the 13th of August of 2013, our mother died. So they died just mortal 2 weeks apart, 20 years apart when they died, but both in the month of August. So both born in March, 6 days apart in the month of March, and both died in the month of August. Well, about less than 20 days apart, about 2 weeks and 2 days. So there are wonderful parents. Read. I just got off the phone speaking to somebody, and one of his sons is at university now, but said, read. I attribute the fact that I'm a very good reader to the fact that I didn't have television. My mother taught us a great love of books, and we got the Dr. Seuss books, Sam I Am, Green Eggs and Ham, and Hooter Gives a Hoot, and so on. All these little wonderful books you'd order through the book order thing, and they were a couple of dollars each then, but that was a lot of money back in those days. Minimum wage was what? It was less than $1 an hour then, probably 65, 70 cents, something like that, in the 60s. And so the love of reading. So doesn't matter how much computers you have around. Remember, nothing else but this personal video I'm doing. Remember your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, your godchildren. Read. The value of reading. You can only do so much on a computer. So great love of reading and respect for reading. We know we learn most of the stuff we learn in this world is through reading and speaking to other people. Vince Withers, the retired president of Newtel, the Newfoundland Telephone Company, which is now merged in part of Bell Alliance in Canada, Atlantic Canada, said, when you read, you pick up a book, you read it. This is a magazine here. You pick up this magazine. I check off what I'm interested in Business Week. If somebody else is in the classroom, the teacher, professor, instructor, whatever the venue is deciding what the agenda is. So when you read, it gives you control. And with that, I wish you all the best. God bless. This one is a personal video. It's my parents, and so it's our parents. And I take myself, Paul, and Donald's parents, and both our parents had considerable virtue. Determination and persistence. You got to have, I got a note of my door here, persistence and passion. Amen. Persistence and passion. Be passionate about what you do, and persistence. You keep on doing it in life, pretty well always works out. And faith in God. Both our parents were people of great faith. And it doesn't mean if you have faith that you won't have trying moments in life. It doesn't quite work like that. Okay, but faith gives you the strength to get through difficult moments in life. And with that, again, I pay tribute to our late parents, Virginia Adeline Dalton and William John Pettipas, who was the son of William Pettipas and Tracadie, and whose Aunt Hattie named her first son Billy. She had 4 sons named after her brother William John, and he had 2 daughters and 1 son, named his only son William II. So they had Big Billy, which Aunt Hattie's son, and her grandson, they called him Little Billy. He was named William, and he has a son and a daughter, and he called his son Will. So there's William John, there's William Pettipas of Tracadie, years ago down by the water, William John Pettipas. I'm John Patrick, but then Aunt Hattie named her oldest son, first of 4 sons, William. He named his only son, of 3 kids him and Madeline had, William, Little Billy they called him, and Little Billy and his wife named their son, they have 1 son and 1 daughter, named his son Will. So you got Will, Little Billy, Big Billy, William John, and you got the William, so that goes on like that. Sounds like Italian or Greek family, something like that. Again, all the best. God bless. And tomorrow's the first day of spring, so better days ahead, folks. Thank you.